Who am I? You sure you want to know? The story of my life is not for the faint of fart. If somebody said it was a happy little tale, if somebody told you that I was just an average ordinary guy, not a care in the world, somebody lied. But let me assure you, this, like any story worth telling, is all about a film. That film. The film next door. Spider-Man 1. The film I loved before I even liked films. I'd like to tell you that that's me, the director. Heck, I'd even take him. Being born in 2004, the same year as Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, it's safe to say that I grew up with these movies and watched each of them probably over 400 times at this point. And it's these three films that inspire me to be a director. These three films that ignited my passion for the film genre. But just like any story, there's a beginning, and we have to go back to the beginning, back to where it all started. This is Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Hey, stop the blast!
Introducing the hero.
Who am I? You sure you want to know?
The film opens up with a narration by Peter Parker. This gives us a little heads up to how his life currently is going, and they do it in every film. We're introduced to the girl next door, Mary Jane Watson, and her boyfriend, who happens to be Peter's bully. Andy's the most early 2000s bully you can think of. He literally reminds me of Stifler from American Pie. Then again, Stifler is also a very early 2000s bully.
Hey, stop the
Let's get something straight. Peter Parker's life sucks. He's constantly late for the bus, he has money troubles, the girl he wants to desperately be with doesn't even see him, and he gets bullied by her boyfriend. Everyone thinks he's a nerd and likes making fun of him, even the smug bus driver. Look at the grin on his face. Somehow Sam Raimi was able to give every single character, even the minor ones, character in this film, and this entire trilogy. This introduction is perfect as it allows us to see who he is at the beginning to see how he becomes a hero in the end. He may be intelligent, but he's not very handsome, he's not very strong, he's most certainly not popular, but despite this, all he really wants is Mary Jane. And we know all of this, except maybe the money troubles part, in the first scene of this movie. It perfectly set up this character and his motivations going forward. Soon after all this, we're introduced to probably the two most important characters in the entire trilogy aside from Peter Parker. The Osbornes. The friend and the foe.
Pete.
Hi, Harry.
Harry. Won't you be needing this?
Thanks, Ted. Peter, may I introduce my father, Norman Osborne?
You notice how awkward this scene is? Why would he formally introduce his father like that? That's the connection between Harry, Peter, and Norman in this movie. Norman never really was much of a father to Harry. He was too busy with his work and he often neglected his own son for the sake of business. And he was always a little disappointed in his son, but every time he saw Peter, it was like the son he always wanted. Peter was smarter than Harry. Peter was more of a scientist than Harry. Peter was pretty much the son that Norman always wanted but never had. During the graduation scene later on in the movie, Norman mentions that he's surprised that Harry even graduated high school. Then he immediately changes subjects and tries to talk to Peter about getting him a job, talking about his success, talking about his future, because he cares more about Peter's future than his own son's. And then Harry just kind of awkwardly walks away because he doesn't know what to do here. His father just pretty much ignored him. If Peter's such a good guy, why doesn't he talk to Norman and say that he's neglecting his own son? Well, you gotta realize that Peter isn't the most mature guy at this point in his life. He may be naive, and he may just assume that that's just how Harry and Norman interact with each other. I didn't really get to properly introduce Uncle Ben and Aunt May, but comparing their relationship with Peter to Norman's relationship with Harry is like night and day. Ben and May actually act like Peter is actually their son, which makes sense because they're actually his legal guardians. They're supportive of Peter and he lives in their own house. Norman constantly puts business before his own family, but Ben and May must be big Vin Diesel fans because for them it's all about family. Let's use visual indicators. Look at the set designs. Ben and May's house is all warm, filled with yellows, browns, oranges. It feels like Grandma's house. It's warm and inviting. It feels cozy. It feels like home. It feels full of love. Their family's kind of poor and they kind of have nothing, but by having nothing, they have everything. They have all they need, and all they need is just each other. As established, Norman focuses on business more than he does his own family. In a figurative and even somewhat literal sense, there are stacks of money coming between him and his own son. All the dull greens in their house feels cold and empty. There's no love here. It's empty, it's sad.
Were you listening to that?
No. Well, I heard, but I was just taking out the trash.
I guess you can always hear us.
Well, everybody shouts.
Mary Jane Watson. Many people don't like Raimi MJ. A lot of them think that she cheats too much, which she does, and a lot of them think that she is unloyal, and many just think that she is underdeveloped compared to Gwen and the other MJ. And while the other two are overall better characters, I don't think that this character should be left in the dust. I'm not saying it's okay to cheat, similar to how I'm not saying it's okay for the Green Goblin to kill people. I'm merely explaining why they do it, and the reason why MJ cheats is extremely sad. Based on the clip that you just saw, and many other examples throughout the trilogy, we can tell that her home life isn't great. It's noisy, it's loud, her parents don't get along, especially her father, who appears to be abusive and neglectful to her. She's unable to receive love from her own parents, or at least her father, most of the time. And that's why she has so many boyfriends throughout this trilogy, because she's trying to find love, but she's unsure of where to find it. She believes that people neglect her and don't love her because she's unworthy of love. She's afraid that if she says what she thinks, what she loves, and what she wants to do will ultimately end in her being neglected again. She wants to sing on stage, but she feels that no one cares, and she feels that she can't reach her dream because no one believes in her, and she's unable to believe in herself. Until Peter comes along. Peter's always admired her, and now he's reassuring her of her hopes and dreams. He believes that she is worthy of love, and he wants to give her that love. He asked her what she wanted to do after high school, and she thought it would have been silly to admit what she wanted to do. But then she finally said it, and he was okay with it. In fact, he embraced it. He encouraged her, and he believed in her, and she believed in herself. This is why they start to fall in love throughout the trilogy. Peter's the only person who actually loves her. Peter's the only person who actually listens to her. Peter's the only person who actually believes in her. Peter's the only person who actually cares about her, and she wants to be cared for. On this day in 2002, Spider-Man was released, and it took the world by storm. One of the greatest superhero movies ever made, and the best superhero origin story of all time. Still can't believe that this movie's 20 years old. Anyways, this video is getting kinda long, and I'll have to split it up into 2 parts. In the next part, I'll discuss the villainous Green Goblin, as well as the overall story and overall theme of the movie. And I also want to say that I've been working on Spider-Man Retold, which has hundreds of creators come together to recreate this magnificent film. I've been working on it along with a bunch of other talented creators, and it will be released at some point during this year, hopefully. I can't wait for Spider-Man Retold to be released, and I'll leave a link to the teaser in the description, and I hope to see you guys in my next review, and for Spider-Man Retold. Take care now.